everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Data Room. I'm super excited to be here today with this awesome guest, Mr. Pranai Reddy. I met him my freshman year in club tennis, and we started bonding over tennis. But then, as we got to know each other better, we both kind of learned that we're both really passionate and interested in entrepreneurship and venture capital. And I'll pass it off to Pranay to introduce himself a little more.
Thanks, Jacob. So, um, yeah, my name's Pranay. I'm a rising junior along with Jacob at Rice University. I'm studying business management, but I've got three minors going on. Sounds a little bit excessive, but they're biochemistry, cell biology, global health technologies, and entrepreneurship. I originally came into Rice as a bioengineering major, but like a year and a half way through, I switched. So hence the biochemistry and cell bio and global health technologies. But that transition made me like a lot keen, and in the process of it, I started Doddy. We'll get a lot more deeper into Doddy later, but yeah, in the process of starting that, I just like most of my time was consumed by just like researching and just doing whatever I needed to get it. So that's how I knew I like this is my industry, this is where I need to be. And yeah, so that took me like on a whole another journey in terms of looking for what I can do with my interests. And yeah, so now I'm in San Francisco in a venture capital internship.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
we'll definitely talk more about the venture capital and Dottie as we get into the podcast a little bit more. But the first question I like to start all viewers off with is why did you agree to come on?
Oh man, I mean, this Jacob is one of my best friends, first of all, and our passion for entrepreneurship aligns so well that I mean, it makes sense that the Data Room podcast is filled with two people who are just fully into entrepreneurship and are fully devoted their careers to it, or soon to be.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. I really love just hanging out with you and
Yeah.
we always just spitballing ideas and coming up with
Mm,
like what we think could be the next big thing and just it's a lot of fun to be in company with other people that kind of see the
mhm,
world the same way and are excited about the same things. So
mhm,
that's awesome. So with that, let's jump right into Dottie a little bit because that's I'd say that's a really big thing you're working on right now.
mhm.
I guess let's just start by kind of give the viewers like an overview of what Dottie actually is.
So actually, me and Daniel started Daniel Goldenberg. He's also from Brown College, for the viewers. Me and him started Dotty in October of 2022. And originally we started the idea as pretty much like a student freelancing platform where students can exchange like services for one another, like tutoring, like I'll do your laundry, like I'll do this, I'll do that, like blah blah blah, anything, any necessary need. But I mean, doing more market research, talking to more people, the two-sided market within college is like a lot for nothing. Like you're a lot of effort and a lot of like product design is necessary to not bring that much value based on what we our market research and talking to all these students. So we pivoted Dotty into something more necessary, a consolidated campus events platform. So currently right now at Rice and soon after I found pretty much every other university faces the problem of their events being posted all over the place. You have to go check Instagram, you have to go check Handshake, GroupMe, Snapchat, all these different things to find interesting events that are particular to you, or even just something you would like to check out or even see. Uh, yeah, without knowing what specifically you're looking for, you can't really find events in this day and age as a college student. And another thing is, as a college student, that's the prime time to be exploring every single part of your interests. Like you have all the resources of the university available to you, and never in your life will you have that type of opportunity ever again. So that's the time to most capitalize on what's out there and finding your interests and what they can be. So that's the main mission behind Dotty. And yeah, so we've been progressing on that one. This summer we finalized our designs and we're looking to raise money to build out the platform, and get enough money to scale as well. So that's the process we're at right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think Dotty's a super cool idea. As a college student myself, there's so many different places where you find events. It would be awesome to just have them all consolidated under one
Hmm.
platform. So something I'm really curious about is, we talk about different startup ideas all the time, and we're always, I'm sure you as well, like we're always thinking about what could be the next big thing, what are some trends going on, like where could we provide value? What was it that specifically pushed you from like the idea stage to actually acting on Dotty specifically?
I see. I mean, generally, generally, whenever consolidating anything is not really a business idea, right? Like you can't generally just make a business out of combining all things into one. What really pushed us over the edge and was like, oh, this is like a great opportunity is the advertisements. What other local organizations, like for example, Rice University specifically, like what's it called? Hop Dotty Happy Hour, for example. They love advertising to Rice students, and that's pretty much their majority of customers these days. So we can capitalize on them trying to advertise to Rice students along with yearly subscription, yearly subscription from like the clubs, the more official clubs on campus that have a budget. Um, by doing that and scaling, we can run an official business, and plus the revenue isn't aligned with the incentives that that platform is trying to provide, in general, which is like getting students more engaged on campus and letting them find their interests, even if that's social scene, academic, club, whatever it may be. It's as long as there's the students' interests are fulfilled in terms of attending events, then
Yeah,
Dotty's done its job.
cool. Cool. So up to this point, what has been like the hardest part about building Dotty, whether it was just from like all the way from thinking of the idea initially to actually setting it in motion?
Yeah. Honestly, the hardest part so far has been finding money, finding capital, but I feel like that's just a lot of persistence, and that's when it's like a make or break of like, do I really want to do this? You know, that's when it hits any entrepreneur, and that's when it's like you're all in or you're not, you know. So there's also raising capital, but in the earlier stages, what was really like tough was like normally whenever you like abstractly think about entrepreneurship and having ideas and like acting on them and fulfilling it, it's like more that people think that you just have an idea and um you just right away go start building. But it's more like you have an idea, you have to test out if that idea is actually valid in the real world, and only then can you even start even thinking about building it out. You still have to get every single feature of what you're trying to build out has to be proven by someone that they need it. Only then like is something going to be successful. Like for example with Bevy, you're fulfilling a need, not necessarily like just something on top of what's already existent, you know? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I haven't introduced Bevy on the podcast before. This is the first episode I've been doing since I came up with it. But essentially, Bevy is a platform that I'm working on right now, that helps college students find alcohol based on the cheapest price and closest location to the store. And then that's kind of one aspect of the platform. The other aspect is revolves around joining groups and creating events. And I won't go into it too much now. Maybe you'll hear about it later on the podcast, but yeah, that's awesome. You're right. You're totally right. Like it's one thing to just sit there and dream up features like this sounds cool, that could work, but it's another thing to actually implement features that users really would want and would actually use for
Yeah.
sure.
The main difficulty behind that though is for Dottie, we had to go out to U of H whenever Daniel and I found time to interview the students, see what they were feeling. Because, also another thing when talking about a business idea is that my environment is Rice University, but a scalable business is not just limited to Rice University. So we had to get our, mind my language, asses out there and um actually get real world market validation.
Mhm. What was that like going to U of H and just interviewing basically random people?
I mean, that's the first time I've done anything like it. I was just like standing outside their library. I mean, kind of felt purposeless at the time. Like I'm just asking them, how are like events advertised on campus? Like, what are your thoughts on them? Like trying to get as much of background between the general student body about how they find out about events. And it's more or less similar to Rice. I mean, U of H particularly have posters everywhere on campus. So that's mainly how they find out about events. But Rice is like group meetings and all this other things. But regardless, there's a problem. It's delocalized and everything's everywhere. But we went to U of H a total of 4 trips, each like 3 hours long, just standing out there trying to find people. Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
probably one of the hardest parts so far too.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, so we've been talking a little bit about the struggle. What would you say has been your greatest success with Dottie so far?
Ooh, I haven't found much success with it yet, but what counts as a success would probably be the satisfaction I'm getting that I'm actually trying to do something. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
that's
even if it's
yeah.
not rewarding in and of itself yet, monetarily, whether it's like fully flourished, the personal satisfaction I get from even saying or calling it my baby and like building it out is easily the greatest part of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. With Bevy, I mean, I only came up with the idea like about a little over a week ago at this point.
Mhm.
But it was one of those ideas where I actually saw a clear path forward. I think a lot of times we think of like this AI company that does this and that, and it's like it's cool, but I have no idea where to start. You
Yeah.
know, like I need $1 million and like a team of world expert data
Yeah.
scientists. Okay, is that practical right now? Maybe not. But with Bevy, it's like I saw a very clear path forward. I found someone that could help me and kind of bring up some of my weaknesses and I could cover some of his. And so we've been working and I pretty much just jumped right into Figma, started designing, built out I guess the first thing I did was build a survey and just started sending it out to people to start
There we
collecting
go.
information, uh,
Mm-hmm.
building out the platform. And it's just been really cool just think back on like the last week, how much work I've already put into this.
Yeah.
And maybe I jumped in a little too soon without fully getting enough validation. It's
Just the
possible,
excitement.
but yeah, it's like I'm just so excited to
Yeah.
get going on something, and now that it's
Mhm.
kind of coming along, I have the pitch deck, I have a concrete plan for the next few weeks. I have some meetings set up with some people. Like it's already moving along. I think one of the really important things in entrepreneurship is that momentum. Like, of
Mhm.
course, there's gonna be pitfalls and hard times, but when you are like kind of taking small wins, it really like keeps inspiring you to push forward and push forward.
Mhm.
Do you
Exactly.
have you had any like experience with that? Like with just like you started with a little win here and then you kept like you felt extra motivated, so you got another
I
win
mean,
there.
for sure. When we started Dotty in October 2022, and we did the Launchpad program with Lily actually at Rice. And I mean, through that also added to like my growing interest into what I was doing because they were like teaching you in a proper way. It wasn't just like, you know, here's $500, go figure it out or anything like that. They like would not, they refuse to give you money unless you like are proving yourself and stuff like that, you know? So
Yeah, they actually refused me money.
yeah, they refuse like more than they give, which is, I guess, good because they'll teach you like how to refine, how to do things to cater to what people want. I mean, also like in terms of raising capital, you can't just standardize each pitch, go into each meeting and be like a robot. You have to be catering to each investor because each one's looking for something different. Not like not all of them are just looking for the next $1 billion idea or like even just they're like some are some niche investors, some are like all over the place. So it's like where you can how you can mold what you have to, I guess, get what you need out of anybody.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And like on that note, let's kind of move away from Dottie for a bit. Let's talk about VC. So right now you're interning working at a VC in San Francisco. Can you tell us a little bit about how that experience has been?
Oh, yeah. Probably top 3 weeks of my life, not gonna lie, in terms of career, in terms of like building like my passion out and whatnot. So a little bit of background. At the firm I'm working at called VU Venture Partners, I'm a healthcare analyst on the healthcare team, but my deal sourcing is coming from all the sectors, consumer, enterprise, frontier, you name it, fintech, anything. So this past 3 weeks, okay, the first week was pretty much like all the textbook stuff they taught me about, like, about the industry, venture capital. And since I've just been grinding, cold emailing, talking to so many people and so many founders, it's just insane the amount of like knowledge I've gained in the past 3 weeks. And like I didn't even know that was possible because it's like as I'm at the office 9 to 9, 12 hours, and it doesn't even feel like it. So
Yeah,
that's how you know that
right, right.
that's how you know you're like doing something you actually like. And yeah, so and I actually talked to a couple of founders the other day, but I haven't been the lead in any meetings yet. But next week I've sourced 5 deals that I'm doing all meetings with, initial screening meetings next week.
That's
So
awesome, man. I'm
yeah.
I'm happy for you. That sounds like you're having a blast and learning a
Yeah.
lot of really cool things. So on that note, what you said you've been learning a lot. Like what are some kind of high level takeaways that you've seen, whether it's just internally within the VC or like externally looking at a bunch of different startups?
Yeah, I mean, I went into it having Dotty behind me, right? So like I'm not saying I understand the entrepreneur journey the full way through because I've not been a successful entrepreneur yet. I'm just starting out, but I mean, I understand some of the things that go behind it. So going from there into the opposite role as a VC was like it gave me more perspective on where the money was going to and how. I mean, VU as a firm, they will invest, they're stage agnostic and industry agnostic, and they invest anywhere from pre-seed to series B, but they target like a 20-30x multiple, which is like a considerable amount. They're not going to invest in like an idea, even though it may seem like a necessary thing. Uh, Unless they see a big return out of it. I mean, sure, that's how that fund works, but in general, I've all these different startups pitching big things, new innovative ideas. Even though they're not necessarily going to be 2-3 billion dollars, they're going to be a couple hundred million, maybe a couple tens of millions of dollars. They're still going to make an impact in the world. But it's just seeing how all these different products and like software and all these different things are just like in such little niches because each how people say the founder has to be like the perfect person that trying to solve the problem they're trying to solve, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise it won't work out. So and I've been seeing businesses from small like molecular cancer therapeutics to rocket ship companies to like all over the place. And it's crazy, all these founders are experts in their field. Not some, yes, some have like 8 different successful exits. Some have like successful, meaning like couple of them more than $1 billion valuations, like
Wow.
ex VP at Apple giving like pitching on new ideas. Like it's insane the amount of people I get to meet and sit on. Yeah.
That's awesome. Have you noticed any kind of beyond just being experts in their field, like have you noticed any commonalities between some of the entrepreneurs that are coming to you guys?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at our firm, it depends on where the deal is sourced. Like I can't give that much experience on my deal sourcing, but the companies that I've sourced so far, one of them is a dating app company, two of them are new pharmaceutical products, and one is like I don't know, consumer, and like I don't know. I What I see from all these entrepreneurs, especially the ones in such niche industries, like revolutionizing what it is that they have a successful career. They've been doing what I mean anybody typically would do at the top of the level. But what I do see in the founders that make them a quote unquote entrepreneur and CEO and founder and someone who can put a company on their back is their drive. That's all it is. Their drive. No matter what, no matter what like idea they're carrying out. If you have a drive, you're going to get somewhere, you know? That's what it is
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And they all have their like respective, respective like motivation for things. And even though their idea is revolutionizing such a small thing in the world, but they've devoted like their life for that small thing to be changed. Like
Yeah.
it almost seems how it's like artificial the way someone like spends so much time with one thing and then at like a certain point revolutionizes that one thing, That's just like
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot to be said about drive. I think one of the first things I think about when I think of drive is like you can control it. Like it's not just something like that's out of your control. It's really like up to you how passionate you are about any given thing. And of course, it's going to be influenced by your experiences. Like if you lost a loved one to a certain disease, like maybe you'll be extra motivated to cure that disease. But like whatever it is, I definitely agree. Like if you're truly driven, like who can stop you? You know, if that's
Yeah,
really your life mission, like even like you said, even if it's a more niche product, like it still is bringing value to the world. It's still making people's lives better. And I think it's really important that we continue to foster a culture of innovation and like supporting these ideas because it's easy to just think like, oh, like the big companies will just do
exactly.
everything and like we don't need I don't need to be the one to push it forward, but everyone can't not be the one. Someone has to be the one
Exactly.
really driving it forward. And so I'm glad that like we're in this space vying to be some of those people that get to
Yeah.
move the world forward and add value.
Yeah. To my point, I mean, yeah, I was saying how these people have such like niche things that maybe my firm won't invest in, but there are so many other firms that do like other types of investing and different kinds of like theses that back them. So whatever innovation that anybody has clear potential to be backed, as long as it is innovation in some kind of way.
Is the success of a company more determined around like the core team, the entrepreneur, and the idea, or more like execution and like the scaling from what you've seen?
It's a little bit of both. Okay, like it depends. If you need a little bit of both, but you can't like for example, what you were saying about earlier in this podcast was like um how we came up with that music AI idea like a while ago, but like who are we to create that, We're just not the
Right.
experts. It's so much it's I mean, we could do it, but like there's someone out there built to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it just it just like goes back and forth that way is what it is.
Hmm. Okay. So I guess one of the ideas that sort of emerged from this podcast is like you want to be like the best person to execute on a given idea, right? So in what ways are you working to become like that best person to execute?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's Dottie or maybe it's like an unknown idea down the line.
Mm-hmm. Um, Honestly, I could not tell you. I don't think any entrepreneur can predict what they're doing, like before they started doing it. So what like essentially, I mean, I don't know. What creates my drive is right as of right now, it's just exploring as much as possible, specifically within this field, like meeting founders, meeting VCs, just and talking about the industry as a whole, innovation, economy, and all of that, But as a founder, where I see my drive is that I'm the only person that would drive that impact in the world.
Mhm.
So that's what drives me the most. I mean, that I feel like that goes behind any founder trying to drive their mission to like its full fruition.
Yeah. It's like that kind of mindset of like, if not me, then who? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, I love that.
Because
I love that.
because anyone can come up with ideas. Any single human has the ability to think creatively. It's just whether you act upon it and act upon it in the most efficient way and are so consistent with it that it pays off in the end, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. So definitely like once you hit that idea, you can take off and start running with it. But what are some habits that you have like kind of on a daily basis? What are some things that you do just to kind of reinforce the fact that like you are on your entrepreneurial journey and like you will one day be the right person to found whatever company it may be?
I mean, day to day in general, like for example, at Rice, whenever I was working on Doddy and classes and everything, the drive I would mainly get was, I mean, I wanted I wanted to work on Dottie at school as much as possible because I knew it was going to be harder over summer being, not at school, not around my co-founders to like talk about it every single day, and build it out that way. So there's that. Wait, could you remind me of your question again? Sorry.
It's more just like what habits do you have that are helping you to become like a better entrepreneur later
Hmm.
on?
Yeah. Yeah. It's consistency, honestly. The moment I the moment I started realizing that entrepreneurship is where I wanted to be in general, is when I started finding myself just letting my brain wander, And that's like one of the biggest, I'd say, it's not necessarily a habit, but things I found myself doing that has contributed a lot to where I'm at now. Because I don't know, there's a lot of things you can do in an orthodox way to be successful, you know? But thinking outside the box, doing things that like nobody else, like just things that nobody else would even think of, Like that's just like some type of creativity going into things that not necessarily as a habit, but out of like curiosity and ambition itself that would probably hopefully make me a successful entrepreneur one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would say like you're pretty much always trying to think about new ideas or like
Like,
potential startups.
yeah, like, is this the way I really need to do this? Is this the best way to do this? Can this, whatever I'm doing, this meaning any given thing,
Yeah.
just thinking about things as they exist. Why, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, why is an amazing question. It can really give you a lot of insight into our world. And on that note, something that I do is pretty much every night while I'm laying in bed trying to fall asleep, I just think about business ideas. And one of my kind of rules that I live by is like anytime you have an idea, write it down. Like even if it may not be the biggest, best idea ever, just always write it down. And so I have like this big log in my phone of all my ideas and I'll be like laying in bed. I charge my phone on the other side of the room. So I'll be like laying in bed. I think of the idea. I got to get out of bed, walk across the room, type it in, get back in bed. And it's like, oh, I thought of another one. I got to get out of bed again, go across
Yeah.
the room. And I feel like I find myself doing that like almost every night. And it's like in the moment, it's kind of annoying. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to go to sleep. But like, look, the next morning when I wake
Yeah.
up, I'm like, wow, those are some really good ideas, Like I could do something with this. And
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
that general approach to life of just like always thinking about a better way to do something or like what unique insight do you have on a certain issue, it
Mm-hmm.
eventually one day you're gonna come up with like the
Because
idea.
yeah, I mean, regardless, especially we're so young in our whatever careers in our whole lives, like we're 20, 21. So like going forward, all it has to be is like just ambition and like exactly what you said. Like always thinking about things in a new way. And look, like what I've found, especially as a VC, is that like sure you can talk to people and people are always like wanting money from approaching VCs, but that's not what the job is. The job is like trying to be a value add wherever you go, you know?
Mhm.
That's literally, I mean, that's the approach to a life as an entrepreneur, as a VC, and generally, honestly, in any profession, but being a value add to any person around you, to trying to just drive anything to being better is what makes anybody successful.
Yeah, I've heard that piece of advice before where it's like whenever you're approaching a super wealthy person or like you're trying to network with a super wealthy person, like you can't just ask them like sit down with me and give me advice. Like it doesn't work
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah,
You have to first provide them value and like I don't know like the specific video that I saw, but it's just like you find someone that's very wealthy, you just stop them for 1 second, say like how can I help you? And pretty much just do anything you can to provide them value, and then only then will they kind of trust you and like
exactly.
be willing to share. It's like
Exactly.
you can't just always be consuming value from others. You have to be providing it back. And that's actually on that note, one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I felt like all these people that were talking to me, it almost felt like charity work. Like I of course I tremendously appreciate their time, but for them, it's like, are they really getting any value out of it? I mean, I try to make them think. I try to question them, and try to give them some value. But by having a podcast, at least now, maybe one day if it takes off a little, get more views, like that, I'm at least providing them a platform to reach more viewers in
Yeah.
exchange for the insight they're
That's
providing me.
what also at my firm, like they were trying to tell us like how in the hell to be a value add, you know? What does that even mean? That yeah. And one of the biggest things is putting yourself out there, which podcast is a huge way, they said. So it's really great what you're doing in terms of entrepreneurship and
Appreciate it.
putting yourself out there. So yeah.
Yeah, in terms of speaking, putting yourself out there, like that's something, naturally I would say like I don't feel super comfortable just like going up to a random person. But the thing is, if I feel like it could help me better myself or like better my idea or better my business or like become a better entrepreneur, I'm just gonna do it anyways. Like even if I don't
Exactly.
feel like it, that's something I kind
Because
of got over really early on. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
something I realize is that like regardless of who my personality is, if I care about something enough, nothing's gonna stop me, you know? It just becomes
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
you're just gonna take that and nothing's like if you want it enough, why is anything gonna not make you
Right.
want it?
Why would a little nervousness or
Yeah,
intimidation,
why would that?
why would that stop you? Yeah, if you know what you want. And like a perfect example is I wanted to put a QR code on the board in my startup class last semester to see if anyone would be interested in signing up for the podcast. And frankly, I was a little bit like nervous. Just that was my first time kind of like addressing the whole class. And I don't know, but I just like went for it and it was great. Everyone seemed interested. I mean, not too many people actually ended up signing up, but like after class, people were coming up and talking to me and saying it was a cool idea. And that kind of gave me some confidence going forward, not only in the podcast, but just not being afraid to ask questions. Like I'm happy to now just go up to pretty much anyone. Like actually yesterday at the Ion, in the morning, I was going to work and I saw this guy. His name is Wade Pinder. Hopefully I'll have him on the podcast at some point. But he's like kind of the leader of the Houston product community.
Hmm,
And I saw him and I was just like I just kept walking by. And then I stopped. I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is a great opportunity. Go meet this guy. And so I turned around. I literally turned around and went and introduced myself to him. And now I'm gonna have a meeting with him in 2 weeks. So it's,
yeah.
just never be afraid to get out there and do
Hmm.
whatever you think can really help move you forward.
Yeah.
So on that note, what are some other like pieces of advice that you would have for people that are interested in getting into entrepreneurship?
Oh gosh. That's honestly a really hard one because entrepreneurship is so relative, right? Like it's not just this. I mean, yeah, it could be this whole broad thing talking about innovation, talking about blah, 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 making the world a better place. Like, yeah. But also, like, when you really talk about when people want to become entrepreneurs, it's like, what's the way you think where no one else can think that way, you know? And where can you apply it with the most confidence, and where like you understand that if you don't do it, who will? It goes back to that again, you know?
Yeah,
That ambition and drive and being like, yeah, like okay, it's also another thing because once you start something and like you become passionate about it, it's a whole nother thing when like you realize like, oh, something could happen along the ways, but even starting is honestly the hardest part, not even anything else after that. Like getting yourself to start something in motion is the hardest part because that's where you know whether you're committed or not.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Is there any other maybe pieces of advice that you've received just along your journey that you'd be interested in sharing with the viewers?
Mm-hmm. Um, I mean, oh, wait, one other thing. I went to
Mhm.
a startup tech networking event yesterday in San Francisco, and I met like a few product managers and a couple of like um just like consultants looking for like companies to get software engineers and stuff like that. But I went there saying I was an analyst as a venture capital firm, right? And for me and one of my other associates were there, and we were the most popular people in the room just by saying we were VCs. Like
That's
that, like
awesome.
when that hit me, like just that title, like I'm just like I was the youngest person in the room, as a matter of fact. But just have like that title itself, and all these people are just like eyes open, like now I have to listen, you know? It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, you're right, bro. It's like there is sort of a power dynamic there between the
Yeah.
startup and the VC, and it's cool. It's cool that you're like living both sides of it at once. That's
Yeah.
really
I
cool.
mean, it's really cool. And also like going forward as a venture capitalist, it's not like I want to be that intimidating. I just want to be that best friend for that entrepreneur, you know?
Mhm.
Because I understand the founder's journey enough to be like, honestly, capital is one thing, but like that support is a whole different thing, you know?
For sure. All right, well, we're almost out of time, so we're gonna get into our last two questions. Um, the first of those is, what is something you want to tell me personally?
You. Um, Bevy, I want to see that happen. I want to be able to get alcohol on campus from your
Yeah,
from the app. That's one thing. Going forward though, I mean, we still got 2 years of college, right? I'm so excited to see what comes next, you know? You're taking 465 at or you TAing it, right?
I'm TAing 465. Yeah.
No, that's sick. I mean, I'm trying to see whether this thing can get me credit for um financing the startup
Mhm.
venture because
Yeah.
I don't see a point, maybe a GPA booster, but like I wanna I don't know. I wanna do you wanna start up Rice Venture Fund again?
I don't know too much about it.
Like we can just like a student organization, like a venture
It's
fund that's run by
a
the students.
student venture fund.
Like it's a club,
Ooh.
like the
Ooh,
Rice New Energy Fund, like the Rice. We're meeting startups. We get connected with the Ion Green Town Labs. Like
yeah.
we
I
have daily panels with Mercury, like all these other things. Would
I
you want to start
could
with me?
I'm very interested. We'll have to talk a
Yeah.
little bit more offline about the specifics, but that could be awesome. And
Yeah,
I feel like at this point, being at the Ion for about 6 months at this point, like I feel like I've met a lot of people and I know some really cool people that we could bring in to the club. So
exactly. And I know, I mean, I've been trying to grow my network in terms of here too. So I know a lot of founders from the Bay Area and also all over the world. Not obviously as much as like, any guy. I'm just an analyst, but I've been meeting these people and I have a few mentors in the venture capital industry. Literally, my general partner was first check into Venmo. So that's
wow,
pretty crazy.
wow.
And he also was in Series A of Facebook. So he has a few things. The other general partner had he was pre-seed in Beyond Meat and he brought it all the way to IPO. Yeah, it was huge. But anyways, they're they're really respectful venture capitalists. They have their network penetrates literally anything you can think about. Like they know people in every single crevice of any given industry. Like that is where I want to like when I see myself like 20, 30 years from now, maybe for like any just like whenever I'm at a comfortable point in my life, I just want to be that person who anybody can go to and is automatically a value add. Like starting out from like being where I'm at today and where I was a year ago and then 2 years ago, just trying to be a value add is what get will like got me here and was what will get me like anywhere really, right? Trying to be a value add. So at that point, like why not? I can just be a serial value add,
Yeah.
because I will have the facilities for that. My connections will grow, my expertise will grow, meeting always new people, especially in this industry. The job is meeting people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I look at my CEO of the company startup I work at right now, and he's like giving me his LinkedIn like login, and he's just like, oh, like look for some people. It's just like crazy how he's just connected to everyone. And I mean
Yeah.
that's LinkedIn. I don't know if those are true relationships, and I'm sure he has a lot of relationships not on LinkedIn, but it's just like once you get to that point where you can just pretty much whatever it may be, a guy for that. Like that's just an awesome place to be in. We're definitely on our way there. I think we're doing a phenomenal job currently expanding our networks and they'll only continue to grow bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, last question, what is something you want to tell the viewers?
Grind. Grind hard. I mean, not even just like in the traditional sense, like studying hard and like working hard in that sense. I mean, be passionate about something, whatever it may be. Because like once like the interest and passion is there, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like it's a chore. It doesn't feel any like a negative thing of your life. It feels like a positive thing. You look forward to it. You actually feel good getting up in the morning. And that's just like ambition and like that strive, is
Yeah,
what is just necessary to be successful, even not even in entrepreneurship and anything, right? So that's what I would
yeah,
tell it.
dude, I love that. I think grinding is a really important part of building yourself up towards success. Like last night, Figma at like 9 p.m. And a few minutes later, I looked at the clock and it was like 1:45. I was like, where did the time go? It's like
Yeah.
when
And
you're
like
really feeling like
and that too,
passionate
you
about
didn't
something
even
and
feel bad about that. You didn't feel tedious. Like I'm sure you just
right,
like
right.
were completely devoted and you weren't even paying attention. Time wasn't even a factor when you were doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. Once you find that, it's almost like the flow state that some people talk
Exactly.
about. Like when you can find that flow state, something that you're really excited about, that's what's gonna allow you to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
wild.
yeah. Well, all right, Pranay. It's been a pleasure. This is one of my favorite podcast episodes. Just doing it with one of my friends, talking about entrepreneurship and our startups, VC. Like I've absolutely had a great time. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, happy to be on the podcast. It was so fun talking to you. Uh, glad to hear all about Bevy and excited to see the new things we do.
All right,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Take care.